top of that, this weekend Hockey Australia celebrated 100 years of women's hockey. What in particular did you celebrate?
It was a great event welcoming the gold medalists back from Delhi. It was the first time that the Sydney Olympic group had got together as a team since 2000, and we inducted three legends into the Hall of Fame, and Alison Annan and Rochelle Hawkes and Connie Charlesworth, so it was a great night.
As well. What's your vision for hockey in Australia?
Yeah, I think importantly success, and success at every level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, correct. Again, from a women in sport perspective, participation is as important for us. So, as Andy mentioned at the start, we're blessed in that we have extremely high representation of women and girls. Andy mentioned that we've got a higher percentage of women players at the grassroots level. At junior level, we also overrepresent 3% with girls. So success means ensuring that we're growing that participation base, and importantly, building the profile of the sport as well. And obviously, the Hockeyroos are a great way to do that.
It's probably pretty highly likely that you can't get both men's and women's hockey to a semi-pro level at least. How do you distinguish? How do you pick between them? As you said, you've got really good women's numbers, but the Kookaburras are also insanely successful too. How do you make that decision?
Yeah, and we don't prioritise in terms of either team. We do have, since the men's and women's bodies merged in 2000, we have a policy of certainly allocating our resources 50-50 across men's and women's, and that is an entrenched policy that we apply.
What are the gender-specific challenges that you face? You said you don't like to differentiate.
One's coaching and attracting quality women's coaches into our sport, and certainly that flows onto officials as well. So certainly in terms of, I guess, the sports side of our sport, that's particularly a challenge and one that we need to keep working on. Women's sport is somewhat different to men's sport, and to a few stats in terms of the newspaper reports of men's sport is at least 6 times more than female, and as we'd all know, importantly, the positioning of women's sport as well in terms of back of paper compared to a few pages in is very different. And another statistic being that news reports of sport feature about 5% of women. So we understand that women face greater challenges compared to men, and as a sport from hockey we understand as well. But the challenge for us is how we actually bridge that gap, and what are we going to do to actually ensure that we're front of mind, that we're putting ourselves out there and doing things differently and creatively and positioning ourselves differently. The commitment of our athletes is superb, and so, we're in an AFL environment. The guys might rock in at 10 a.m. and do a session out on the ground, have a meeting afterwards and a bit of lunch and come back and another meeting, and then they're off. The Hockeyroos, they're coming in at 5:30 every morning out at Curtin in WA to train for an hour and a half. They head off to work a full day, coming back for team meetings at night. You throw in physio sessions, etc. in there, and I marvel, and I still do, marvel at the commitment and the professionalism of both our Hockeyroos and Kookaburras based on the amount they get back. And it's pure sport in a way, in terms of they do it for the passion and the purity of the sport, and I admire that massively. But